Hello and welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action. From Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to the Fast and the Furious. We will review theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. And tonight we're reviewing Turning Red, streaming now on Disney Plus, a film that should be in theaters. Well, we'll talk about that. All right, I'm your host, Doc Rotten, and joining me tonight are the Slat Man, Chris Slattery. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm hungry though. Watching this movie, like the animation on the food was phenomenal.
There's that. Yeah, that's not exactly where I thought we'd be going with this discussion, but yeah, that happens. All right. Also joining us is podcasting rockstar and international cosplay queen Vanessa. How you doing, Vanessa Panda?
Vanessa Panda tonight, controlling my inner panda. But Chris is not wrong. The food in this looked amazing.
The food in this looked amazing. All right. Well, we love our Pixar films. We love our Disney films. And this is a Pixar film that, like many others in the past year or so, went straight to Disney Plus. But I think that trend will end this summer with a little film called Lightyear, I believe. But let's jump into this. What we're going to do is first we're going to give our first impression. That will be spoiler free, and then we'll dive into the discussions. And those discussions will contain spoilers because, well, that's where all the discussions are. So we're going to jump into that, and then we're going to wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score, a 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. Yes, and of course, if you want to help us out, it's easy and free to do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share with a friend. We really appreciate it. And of course, leave some comments down below. And we hope you enjoyed not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. Let's look at the CAD. Bidding! Turning Red, 2022 from Disney and Pixar, available streaming on Disney Plus beginning March 11, 2022. Directed by Domi Chi, written by Domi Chi, Julia Chow, and Sarah Streicher. The cast includes, and here we go, Rosalie Chang, Sandra Oh, Ava Morse, Hyen Park, Maitri Ramakrishnan, Orion Lee, Wang Jingho, Tristan Alec Chen, and James Hong, the wonderful James Hong. Yes. There's another panda that has James Hong in it, but we'll talk about it later. All right. Synopsis is a 13-year-old girl named Mei Ling, also called Mei Mei, I think is what they call her, turns into a giant red panda whenever she gets too excited, and she just can't hide it. I'm not going to continue that song, but you can get it. But this, I am excited to talk about this film because I really like personally what this film tries to do, or the themes that it tackles, and the maturity it has in its laughs with a bunch of 13-year-old kids as the cast members. So let's get into that. I don't know why I started off with that, but I felt like I needed to say it. So Vanessa, you're in the right corner. So why don't you go ahead and start us off and give us your first impression of Turning Red.
Oh, I loved it so much, and I didn't even intend to watch it. Some of the ones I just kind of let go by, like Luca, I never saw. There's some of them that I just don't think I'll be particularly that interested in. And I didn't really know what the subject matter of this movie was until you started telling me about it, and I had a coworker tell me about it. And I was like, all right, this sounds like something I really want to watch, and I'm so glad I did. It was so funny and so heartwarming and real and genuine, and showed a perspective of young women and girls that you don't often see. An insight that you don't get to see from a personal side, from a female perspective. It's really just fun to see that portrayed in such like a and they use this a lot throughout the film, and I don't think it's a spoiler, but lots of things are very cute, especially one of our main characters. And so they really emphasize the cuteness through the whole thing, and it just makes you feel good. There's something about, and that's like, this is not a revelation to anyone, but seeing kids happy makes people happy. So seeing kids happy like this, enjoying their life, kind of figuring out who they are, doing weird things, just being themselves around people that they trust is just really refreshing and encouraging to see, especially when you consider the target audience that this is going to be watched by.
Mm-hmm. I can't agree more. Can't agree more. It's going to be fun to talk about this. All right, Slapman, what about you, sir?
So I thought it was a really fun movie. It's a really good, fun time. It has a lot of really great feel good moments, and it has a lot of it hits on like the right messages, I think, for this audience. Um, and and I have to give it a little bit of criticism. I think it's a little slow paced at the very beginning. It takes a while to get going, but once it gets going, oh my god, the snowball just rolls fast. um, and this might sound a little odd, but they portrayed a 13-year-old so well. They got the annoying parts perfect, but they also got the sweet parts and the kid parts and the innocent parts also perfect. It reminds me of 13-year-olds, like middle schoolers. They did such a good job. And then I also really I just the style of this movie, the style of the animation is so different than what we've seen from Pixar. And it works. It really works. You can really see the influence of like Japanese animation in this.
Definitely.
Like from the art style to there's scenes that look like they would be straight out of an anime or manga with how they're designed and how they're shadowed or how they're framed, and it fits our character and fits so well. And this movie really deserved to be in theaters, and it's a shame that it didn't get released because this would be so much fun. Spoiler section would be so much fun to see on the big screen.
Yes, it would. I really enjoyed this, and I am like pretty far away from the target audience, but having 3 kids go through 8th grade, each one seemed to be more traumatic, with the last one being a female. I knew it wasn't the same for me in 8th grade for whatever reason, but I knew what they were going through, and it really captures that spirit, needing to accomplish everything, but everything else. But there's so much I like. I love the 4 main characters, especially our main character, May. Right? Her plight is so identifiable under a lot of different circumstances, right? Either literally or, in relationship just to growing up, period, puberty, right? Because spoilers, it has a lot to do with puberty, and it's just really fascinating. It's really character driven. The humor is natural and funny, and of course, I'm partial to pandas, especially if they know kung fu. Not that this one knows kung fu, but I am partial to kung fu pandas. Ba-dum-bum. And also, what I really liked, and I'll end here, is that the main conflict of this. I mean, there's some deep conflicts throughout it with the themes, but the main conflict our group is actually trying to conquer, with the thrust of the story, is maybe less the panda and more they want to go to a concert, right? They're not trying to save the world. They're not trying to beat this big huge enemy. There's not aliens invading. There's nothing like that. They're just trying to go to a concert, and there's a panda involved. So I kind of found that really refreshing, and I really liked our 4 main characters, the four girls. They each have their own funny little quirks about them, and there's some subtle toying around with expectations with them that is interesting, maybe to discuss during our spoilers. Some of them are pretty well hidden. You'd have to, really dig to see it. But this is a great film, and I really, really enjoyed it. But
Yeah, there's a lot of things I loved about this. I love that it's set in 2002. I love that it's like a
yeah, it took me a while. It took me a while to
period
figure
piece.
that out, but it needed to be that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I was 18 in 2002, but still felt very much the way that these young girls felt, most I could relate more than anything to their adoration of boy bands because
Mm,
2002 was just the height of Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and the like, and I was definitely just as goo goo gaga as they are in this movie over my
yes, yes.
boy bands of the time, and it made it just feel so real and relatable, and you just have that feeling of this is the end of everything in my life moment. This is the person I'm destined to be with for the rest of my life, and they had a way of translating that feeling, that silly, just crazy hormone driven brain feeling, into something that you understand and you relate to, and you're like, I know what that feeling is like. I have felt that before. I know your pain right now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
on top of that,
Really quickly. We're in spoilers, so anybody. But
Yes.
on top of that,
and on top of that, they really hit the nail on the head with the parents not really understanding the obsession.
not at
Yes.
all. Not at
Oh
all.
my
Yeah.
gosh, Chris. I was raised by my grandparents who are Latino. So technically, my parents are not American, right? They were
Mhm.
naturalized American. So I can 100% relate to being an American teenager trying to explain to your non-American parents, it's just music.
Mhm.
Why
There's
do,
nothing going
why are
on.
they called four whatever? There's only
When
there's
there's
five
Five,
of
five.
them.
five.
Four is a
Oh
lucky
my
number. They
gosh.
said.
I just loved it.
It's yeah, and I love the way they expressed it. They used the anime style to express their love for it. The mouths, the eyes. They had when they became excited, right? It wasn't all the
Mhm.
time. They used it to accentuate and to illustrate this emotion, and wow, did that work? And I just was I just thought this was beautifully constructed in that respect. But we really got to get into the meat of this, which is this all happens as puberty arrives for our young star here. So Vanessa, I really got to ask you, in this respect, was that relatable? I mean, because at the beginning she's still in like ooh cooties with the boys, but she starts doing these doodles, these drawings, and she realizes, oh.
Oh, definitely. I will say I watched the making of documentary, which provides so much insight into why things are the way they are in this movie. Talks about the anime influence. Lots of things that we're kind of discussing. They talk about more in depth than the people that made it, but that was one thing in particular they were talking about. I'd be in my room and I'd be doing these drawings and so embarrassed, like, why am I drawing this? But I can't stop. And I vividly have memories of writing things very inappropriate about other young boys that I didn't even know what I was saying at the time, and thinking like, why, when somebody found it, why did I write that? Oh my God. So yeah, I can 100% relate to those feelings that they're going through. Everything felt so real. It was almost as if they had, were plucking experiences and memories from my mind, but this grand like amalgam of girls' minds, of experiences that we have in our lives and weird things that we feel. Maybe you guys shouldn't watch it. You don't need to know this stuff about it.
Slapman, you want to elaborate on that for you?
I
Were you like a
don't have.
Tyler? Did you secretly like boy bands too?
There was no secret, man. I jammed out to NSYNC and
Yes.
Backstreet Boys back in the day.
There was no
Love
secret.
it.
Well, there's a point where I really there's a couple times they take some really unexpected gravity towards her plight. for a Disney film, for an anime Disney film. They treat it, even though it's animated, it's fun, it's comedy, but they really come after some of these with some with respect toward the characters. From her mom showing up trying to give her the tampons, and then which is
God, I
embarrassing
would
the
have
hell out of her.
died.
And then what another element I really liked was when she had to make a decision whether to say that it was all their plan, or that it was their plan, and she was coerced into it in front of her mom. And we can all relate that it's hard to tell to stand up to your parents, and a lot of this movie is about becoming that, right? Standing up for yourself, even if it is standing up against your parents, and finding out that you do have a voice. You are growing up, even if you're not an adult, you are growing up and maturing. And I don't know if we've gotten a character that matures in this way in a Disney Pixar film.
Yeah, not that they really focus on and kind of, like you said, treat it with the respect that I think young people going through puberty deserve to see. A lot of times these topics are just not discussed or not shared. You don't have somebody telling you, yeah, I've been through this before too. You most of the time you have a lot of situations where they tell you like you don't talk about this stuff. You hide this stuff. This is stuff that you go through that no one else should know about. So to just make it an open conversation like that, I think is really important. Um, and of course, I like leave it to Pixar to handle it in such a wonderful way to be able to tell that kind of coming of age story. And what I also thought was really great about it is, so let's assume the three girls have already, accepted their red pandas at this
Yes.
point. So May's the last one. So she's kind of the last one having to go through all this and come to terms with it, but they're still all growing and learning and changing and adapting throughout the movie. And what is we're assuming is, throughout your life, you're constantly trying to figure out who you are, where you fit in, when is it appropriate to be the one who devotes everything to their parents, and when is it more appropriate to be the one who devotes everything to yourself, right? Balancing those times of responsibility versus following what you want. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of heavy topics, and kids these days, as old as that sounds, uh
Yeah.
they're just they're different than we're different generations here, but the kids now are so different. They're so mature, so much faster, and they're so smart, and they're so aware of so much that it took me to be 20 years old before I was half aware as they are these days. So, it really is a lot about treating young people with respect and treating the topics of life and changes with respect, those conversations with respect.
Yeah, Luca is another film. You said you didn't get to see that one, but Luca's another film that approaches this coming of age story for a kid in a similar way. But I don't. It's different than what they do here. It's still very effective in Luca, and I really like Luca. And we reviewed that on the podcast a year ago, right now.
Mm-hmm.
But this one really tackles this. Uh, what it tackles being horny. Let's just put it out there.
Yes.
I mean, these characters, are like, ooh, boys,
They're all
and
hormones.
they are, and that's unique, I think, for a Disney film to do.
Yeah, most of the time you see it from the guy's perspective, right? It's
And
the
that
guys
too,
who are
yeah,
the horny
that too.
monsters, not the girls. But yeah, I thought it was pretty hilarious to see that, and to see it so open, because even a lot of times in real life, and maybe not today anymore because kids are so much more open with how they are.
Mhm.
But me growing up too, we wouldn't have been in the bleachers yelling at a bunch of boys. We would have been like whispering about the boys like that. So it's really, really fun to see. And I think also what makes it so poignant is it's interwoven this story of familial responsibility, right?
Mhm.
Especially coming from the Chinese perspective, which is very much, their history is very much rooted in
Culture. Yeah,
the
very much.
culture, respect your ancestors, you know. So that's from that perspective too, from the Chinese American or Chinese Canadian, they're in Canada.
And they're in Canada, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Chinese Canadian
about that.
perspective of, you know, how do we respect our culture and our heritage while still changing with the times, right? Still growing and learning. And I thought that was a super important lesson that they taught about this, especially right now, right? Coming out of COVID, coming out of all the horrible things that have happened to people in the Asian community, to have something like this that's so exuberant and triumphant and beautiful and fun and tells such a great story about family, I think is really, really important, especially for kids, because they hear and see so much. So to give them something opposite to some of the things they may be hearing or seeing is really important. And I really, 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 as much as it's about May and her mother, I thought the dad was such a great character. So warm and loving and supportive and just like one of those great TV dads.
He was a TV dad, yeah. And the grandma was good too.
Yeah, all the aunts and the grandma.
Yeah, and the ants and everything. And it was really what I really liked about those two characters, the mom and May, is that they really weren't that much different, right? I mean, they were, but they weren't, right? There's a lot of common threads going in that, and I found that very refreshing as well. But we really got to get into Kaiju Panda, because I know Slap wants to talk about Kaiju Panda.
Well, I mean, we can stay on the parents for a minute, because I found that I don't have children yet, but I found it very funny as someone who is seen like my wife's like family and stuff, like the moment where the mom was on the couch and just like, what happened to our May, you know, all this stuff, and the phone rings and it's like, it's your mom, and she's like, as soon as she was like, why does she not respect her mother anymore, and it's like, I'm not here.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I can't relate to that personally, but I know that some friends and family that I do know can relate to that so well, especially seeing them as they've become parents too. And it's just that is almost as relatable to my generation as May herself is relatable to like the what preteens that would be watching
tweens,
this.
I guess, tweens,
yeah. I don't know what to call them, but
tweens.
That I just want to call that out. That was so relatable.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
Well,
Sandra Oh did a great job.
She did. Oh my god,
mom.
I didn't realize it was her, but she did.
Me neither.
She did a great job. But we got to talk. Okay, so the panda, of course, is a huge metaphor for puberty in and of itself. But we also get her mom. Spoilers. Yeah, because it's this turning into a panda is passed down generation to generation, and you have to go through this ritual, and boom, it awakens the panda inside mom when she gets really anxious about her daughter going off to this to the concert, and turns into a big giant kaiju panda, which was awesome. It was so much fun.
You said it was big. I didn't imagine it was that big.
Yeah, it literally tearing buildings down with the swoop in her hair still. So good.
Baby! You know, it's coming to her hands. But it was, I like how they brought the boy band into it, and they brought their their little shtick. The four girls brought their stick together to on top of it, and then it also related to what all the parents were doing and the aunts, and it just, you were talking about earlier, Slyman, that there's a lot of feel good moments in this, and that's one thing that the conclusion of this film does. It really goes for that feel good moment, and it works. It works. They do a lot of destruction, but they do try to account for it. They are raising the money with the big thing.
They're trying.
Yeah, and that ending really specifically, that really kind of takes this movie from a movie just about becoming yourself and accepting who you are to really more evolving it to accepting who you are and becoming your own person and not what society or dictates that you need to be as well. And that's just as much of an important lesson as, you know, these weird changes in your body are okay.
Yeah.
Because the amount of people that I know or I have seen go through the struggle of, I have to do this or I have to be like this because that's what, you know, expectations are, and they don't feel comfortable just being their own person, male, female, 13 or 30, you know, like
it doesn't go away. It doesn't go
away.
It
doesn't go away. And that is probably the most universal like message that you can get out of this. If, you know, a 3-year-old watches it and that's all they get out of it, then that, I think that this movie succeeded. And then when they go and watch it again in 10 years, then they'll get even more out of it.
I was going to say, there is going to be a generation of people that watch this, kids that watch this and don't really get what it's about. They just see a cute panda and then a big panda. And then, but later on they'll go, oh, oh, absolutely. All right. So let's wrap this up with one discussion, final discussion. And that's about this not going to theaters, which I think is a crime. I really do. I mean, it's the first female directed Pixar film. It's also Asian American, and it's a female cast primarily, and it's also really damn good and deserves to be in the theater. And it is a crime that it didn't make it out there. I mean, it's okay. So yeah, we're just now finally cracking, you know, the bubble on the, you know, the COVID for the past 2 years. But
I mean, I thought it was a crime that Soul didn't make it to theaters as well. And this is an even harder pill to swallow than Soul.
Yeah. The director, Dami, she is going to have a phenomenal career though. Like the stuff that she's done and just the work on this film and the team that she put together to make this movie is just incredible. And I really encourage everyone, if you've enjoyed this, to go watch the making of documentary, because it just enriches the movie so much. You learn so much about the women making it. You learn so much about Dami. Like you see May in Dami as you're watching her in this documentary, and it's just so heartwarming and wonderful.
I'm looking forward to a time when a film could burst out and be big and not have to be an established IP, you know, because this may be coming from, you know, Pixar, but you know, the turning red panda is not an established IP, which Lightyear is, right? I mean, it isn't Buzz, but it is, but it isn't. So it'd be interesting to see that.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it really did deserve it, because this movie also, like Chris was saying, gave so much to updating, tweaking, changing Pixar's animation style. It opened it up in a way that we really haven't seen before, because they're very particular about the style that they have, the look that they come across with, and for them to allow such freedom in this, and for people, like, you see it. It's not something that you have to be told, or you have to be like, oh, did you see the anime influence? You see it, you know it, you feel it in there with the way these characters are. And that, I think that's something super important. And a lot of people are talking about it. It's getting negative press from the people who say they don't understand it, which is fine, because that makes more people want to go see it, right?
Are those the crotchety old men?
Right? Get off my lawn.
See, but Doc's not crotchety.
No.
He's cool. I'm curmudgeon, but not crotchety. No, I love my animated films and my musicals too.
I mean,
much my chagrin sometimes. But anyway,
at least Encanto did get a go to theaters, and that also blew up in a similar way and had similar messaging. So hopefully
Yeah.
they'll see the success that Encanto had, and then they'll see the success that this is having, like from like a just word of mouth perspective,
Yeah.
and they'll make more movies like this because
Yeah.
but
We need 'em.
Encanto's not a Pixar film though, right? That's just pure Disney.
no,
Disney.
it's pure
Yeah.
Disney, but you know,
Disney
if you've got two
animation.
studios making very similar movies, meaning like similar movies in like a very 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 high level perspective of, you know, including more female leads and having more diversity and things like that formula, hopefully we'll see more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like, well, you look at Pixar, the films, what, Luca, you said Soul, and then now Turning Red, and they're all diverse. So
Yeah, I loved it. I love to see it. It makes me really happy. And honestly, like I loved Encanto. Everybody loves Encanto. Everybody, loves the music. But I felt like I could relate to this story so much more from the family perspective, from the female perspective, from, just growing up in general as a human being. I just felt so connected to this. And let's not sleep on the music because I got to say this before we get to our final points. The music,
the music, yes.
yes, the music was incredible. So Ludwig, I think it's Göransson, I can't remember, the guy who did the music for The Mandalorian did the score for this movie. And Billie Eilish and her brother did the songs for this movie. Her brother being the lead singer of Take 4. And those songs are so good, and the way they use them in the movie are so good, and they're so catchy. So I hope, maybe we'll start hearing some of these songs out there too, the way we
Yeah.
did with Encanto.
And then I could also like just I remember being that age and having to go on boots and cats and boots and cats. That's like that hit home.
Oh, I love it.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. Vanessa, you are up first.
Oh, I should watch this movie. It'll make you feel good. Whether you get it or not, it should still make you feel good by the end. And giant panda kaiju. I didn't even think about it that way, but that's what she is. I give this one a 5. I think I gave Soul a 5. I just really like Pixar animation a lot. I love the stories that they tell. The casting's always so spot on. The music's always great. Like Pixar just knows what they're doing. And for them to give these women the opportunity to, this is Dami's first feature film. For a lot of women, this is the first time they're holding these big titles in film production and making that have never been held by women in Pixar before. And it just really makes me so happy to see the diversity, to see people working together like that, to see stories like this being told. But what is my favorite scene? I don't know, because there's so many really great, really cute, really touching scenes. But I honestly think, and I may be stealing this from one of you guys, and there's so many I could choose from. But I really loved the moment that May had with her dad when he found the video camera and he saw
Yes.
her just
Did like that.
being herself, right? Being a kid, having fun, not worrying about anything, embracing her silly weirdness. And he said, it's your choice if you want to erase this tape, but seeing that May makes me laugh, makes me happy, right? And I was like, oh my God, the dad has said 5 words this whole movie, and those are the ones we needed to hear. That was just such a special, sweet, touching moment for me. Because we get so many with the mom and the grandmas and the aunts, and those are all wonderful. But that was just a tiny little moment. And I might have one more if you guys don't claim it by the end.
All right. Well, we'll give you that out there. All right, Slapman, what is your final thoughts? Your score, your favorite scene?
So, talking more about the dad real quick. Did y'all watch the post-credits scene?
Yeah.
After no, I thought I watched long enough, but I didn't.
So it's a short little scene, but it's the dad decked out in what's the band's name
Take
for
4.
Take 4 gear and like singing along to the music
Oh
as
my
he's listening
gosh.
to it. It down in the basement. It's
I'll
hilarious.
have to go watch that.
Um, yeah, the best Pixar dad we've gotten in a while.
That's
Uh, but yeah, this is a great movie. This is it does everything that I think it does everything that it set out to be, and that is to be a very fun, very enjoyable, very heartwarming tale about some heavy subject matter and painting it in a light that makes it easily digestible, I think. And they really nailed that. Um they nailed it so much that they got the annoyingness of teenagers down perfectly. Like
across
one
the
of us,
board, yes.
yeah, and but they also show that behind the kind of annoyingness that they can have, they have they're awesome little humans.
Awesome little
Um
humans.
yeah. Um
I love it.
and there's so much growth that happens too, with every character, not just May, but also with her friends, and the mom and dad also have their moments to grow, and it just they did a really good job with that. And then they also made an amazing kaiju finale that had no I don't want to say had no place in this movie because it fits so well, but at the same time it kind of came out of left field unless you were really paying attention to the dad in Vanessa's favorite scene. You wouldn't have you would not have been able to guess that's where the the mom's panda was going, and
Not
it
that
worked.
big.
It worked. It worked.
It worked. This
Not
movie
that.
just works.
Mhm.
But I will say that I did feel like it was a little slow at the beginning, and it took its time, and it did that. I understand why it did it, because it needed the time to establish the characters, establish what normalcy is before it, kind of threw the wrench into things and just mucked it all up. But it also just kind of dragged for the first, I think, like third of it. And so because of that, I can't give it a 5. I have to give it a 4.25.
Mm,
Um,
okay. Okay.
no, 4.5. Four
There
and a
you go.
half.
I feel like we just peer pressured him just like that.
No. I was kind of teetering between those. Between like it's probably like a 4.3999999,
Oh, round it
but
up.
we don't get that specific.
Are you gonna go pie on us here? That'd be fun.
No,
No.
not yet. Not yet. We haven't seen a movie that bad
That was
yet.
yesterday.
Um, but yeah, it's good. It's fun. My favorite moment is when May finds her mom as a teenager
Oh, yeah.
in the circle spirit realm or whatever it is,
Oh
and
yes, yes. In the
she
trees.
has
The
that
different trees.
conversation with her mom as a teenager and tells her that it's all going to be okay, you know that and she could see that her mom went through the exact same thing that she's going through, exact same thing, exact same look, basically exact same
Mhm.
thing that she's pressured about. Like that was that was that was a really touching moment, because I think that as children grow up, they realize, as getting like work talking with their mom or mom and dads, and and going through life and getting their perspective on it, you realize that a lot of times what your parents went through are exactly what you're going through in one way or another, and they had the same struggles, and that's kind of important for everyone to hear.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
is. It is because at that time, and I think they express this in the beginning of the film, is that you do feel, like an outsider, and I think that's what the panda represents, right? When it appears, you just feel like, all right, this has happened. Everybody's going to know, right? Because now I'm a big red panda, and yeah, so definitely. And then to know throughout the film, it's also about acceptance, right? Because starting with her friends to her parents to herself, and yeah, and that's a great message and one that more movies need. And we'll let Pixar lead the way. They're a great company. I love their films. So this is a great film too. I I think I just wrapped it up. I think that's fine. I think that's exactly what I wanted to say. I really enjoyed this, and I had 3.5 written down, so I'm going to stick with that. I could be coerced into giving it 3.75. No, 4. Sorry, I got all mixed up with the 314 thing that I was doing earlier. No, 4.5. Let me state clearly, 4.5. Forgive me. There's this may be in my top 10 movies of the year all across. Not in the genre stuff, just as a film. I really think I'm really disappointed this didn't make it to theaters. I really did. One of my favorite scene though is the party scene. They need the last little bit of money, and the one, I guess he's a bully kid,
Tyler,
right? Wants to have the panda there to wow all the friends at his birthday party, and they make the deal, and she doesn't want to do it at first because the mom, right? The whole backstory, but then she does, and when she does, I loved how the fun all these kids were having was represented. From the dance, right? And there's something in the dance that we might talk about offline that happens. And then there's, my favorite actual shot from that, because that whole party up until the red eyes, and that's still part of it, but I enjoyed the fun part more than that. When she's jumping up with all the kids on her back, and they're all like, whoa. It's just the look on their faces. It's just kids having a great time. They all accept her, and she's being, and she's having the time of her life at that moment, and it's getting caught, because her dad sees it later, right? And it just, I don't know, that really touched me personally, because that's a lot of times you go to these things, or you go out to a school event or something, and you're like, am I going to be a wallflower? Is anybody even going to want to talk to me? Am I going to have fun even? And to break down that barrier and to be able to be yourself and have fun and be accepted for who you are and laugh. It's just a great time, and I really appreciate that scene.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't that one, it would be every time they did the anime eyes with the little
hearts and stuff.
The sparkles and
like, I mean, even the friends, like when she came out of the stall and she was panda, and they were like, ooh. It was like every time they did that, I loved it. It was perfect. It wasn't overused, and it totally,
Yeah, the peak one was when the boy band came out on stage, and they were just like,
Yes,
you scared your cat.
that should be fine.
So do we pick your scene?
No, my backup favorite scene is actually when they're trying to save the mom, and the boy band starts singing.
Yes.
I've never met anybody like you before. I've never seen anybody singing together. And the lead singer is like so moved by what he sees happening. He's like shedding a couple of tears. And I was like, what are you doing to me, Pixar? What are you doing? And then it goes to them in the forest and everything. Oh, it's just such a great moment of people like just working together and wanting to see people succeed and love win, basically, because that's people showing their love for other people and trying to save them. So I love seeing love winning in that respect.
So I really thought it was going to be the cat box.
Oh my gosh.
That was
talk about
adorable.
Talk about anime influence. The look of those cats.
I know.
Big cat eyes.
Oh my God. It was like what it took for her not to
That was great.
stand out on that moment. Was awesome. All right, so there you go. There's our review for Turning Red. It is streaming now on Disney Plus. Do yourself a favor and go watch it, and leave us some comments down below what you thought. Oh wow, Slapman, Vanessa Panda, thank you so much for joining me. This was a great discussion.
Yes,
Boots and
very
cats
much.
and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats.
Oh no! All right, with that, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.